I'm a very special girl. Other girls are slim, delicate, and soft, but I'm 8 feet tall, strong, and sturdy. 9 blind dates, 10 failures, 1 punch, and I sent a young man running for his life. Yet the delicate, pretty little emperor fell for me at first sight. So charming, this one loves it. Once I became his consort. The harem was in chaos every day. Your Majesty, Consort Jong punched me. I almost died. Your Majesty, Consort Jong lifted me and threw me in the lake. Your Majesty. Consort Jong tore my palace door off. The little emperor sipped his tea calmly. Did you say thank you? 1. I'm a consort, to be exact, a favored one. My name is Jong Fei, so they call me Consort Jong. I'm 8 feet tall, strong, and sturdy, no willow waist. No flowery face, but the little emperor dotes on me alone. He likes to stroke my leg hair every night, rest his head on my broad chest, and fall asleep to my thunderous snores. The emperor says it makes him feel safe, naturally. The other consorts were left out. Since the selection, they never got to share his bed, and barely saw him once in 10 days, so all the beauties turned against me. 6 consorts led by the empress found me in the imperial garden, where I was working out. I lifted a heavy stone table with one hand, curling it up and down. Heave, ho, Consort Chen swallowed hard. I suddenly feel unwell. I must take my leave. Concubine Zheng touched her forehead. I have been stewing in my palace. I must go. Concubine Li twisted her fingers. And my father is having his monthly cycle. I must go. 3 blurs flashed before my eyes. Only the empress, Consort Guo, and concubine Yang remained. The empress cursed them under her breath as useless, then nodded at Consort Guo. Consort Guo was brave. Stepping forward fearlessly, her delicate finger poked my nose. Consort Zhong, how dare you hog the emperor all day and keep us from seeing him? I scratched my head, awkward. I've told Yuanshang many times to share his favor, but he won't listen. I frowned and added, you think I want to sleep with him? He steals my covers at night, farts, and talks in his sleep, so annoying. But to her, this was just showing off. Her eyebrows shot up. You dare call His Majesty by his given name? Rude and immoral. You deserve punishment. I hurried to explain. His Majesty made me call him that. Concubine Yang joined in, hands on hips, just because His Majesty favors you. You can be so rude. Forget us. Have you any respect for the Empress? The 2 sharp-tongued beauties ganged up on me, one after another. The argument grew heated. The Empress, meanwhile, pulled out some melon seeds and watched, munching happily. 2 an hour later, Consort Guo and concubine Yang still wouldn't stop. I finally lost my patience. I roared, unable to bear it any longer. Enough. My voice boomed like a tiger's roar, my aura like a dragon's. 100-year-old tree in the garden trembled. Silence fell at once. Consort Guo recovered, staggering back in terror. What are you doing? I saw she was about to step on a stone behind her. She'd twist her ankle for sure. I rushed to grab her, but I was too hurried and held back too little. 1 punch landed on her face. A scream. Consort Guo had a black eye. Concubine Yang shrieked and collapsed to the ground, sweating profusely, chest heaving. I thought, oh no, she must have heat stroke. It could kill her if untreated. I looked around. Luckily, there was a lovely pond nearby, so I lifted concubine Yang like a little chick and tossed her into the pond. She screamed and flailed, like a happy wild duck. I smiled and called to her, take a bath, you'll feel better, no need to thank me. The air felt strange. I turned and saw the Empress. She was staring, dumbfounded. A melon seed shell stuck to her upper lip. I reached out kindly to brush it off. The Empress jolted, then turned and ran for her life. I thought she'd misunderstood. I hurried after her to explain. The Empress acted like her tail was stepped on, screaming all the way, don't come near me. She finally fled back to her palace with her maids and locked the doors tight. I banged on the gate anxiously. Your Majesty, let me explain. But the doors stayed shut. I was getting frustrated. In the end, I gave a hard tug, tore off half the palace gate, lifted it, and roared, Your Majesty, please let me explain. 3 Unsurprisingly, the next day, the beauties sobbingly accused me before the Emperor. Your Majesty, Consort Zhong punched me. I almost died. Your Majesty, Consort Zhong tore my palace door off. Your Majesty, Consort Zhong threw me in the lake. I almost drowned. They looked up at him hopefully, waiting for a fair judgment. Emperor Xiao Yuanshang lifted his teacup slowly, sipped gently, and said, "Did you say thank you?" His eyes lit up. My beloved consort is truly one of a kind, so full of charm, all consorts. The beauties left, downcast. They ran into me on the way. They gave me dirty looks and walked past as if I wasn't there. Only the Empress stopped in front of me. Sadness crossed her beautiful face. She smiled bitterly. I've been raised to be Empress since I was little. Looks, family, learning all first class. She looked me up and down, as if at some strange object. Then why did I lose to you? For I'd asked myself that many times. The Emperor was only 18, handsome as a flower, in looks. He and the elegant Empress should have been perfect together. But me, I'd been tall and strong since I was little, ate a lot, had great strength. Everyone called me ferocious Zhong Fei. Even my parents disliked me, afraid I'd ruin my sister's marriages. They sent me to the countryside. I ran wild in the open fields. My body grew stronger, my skin darker. By 21, all my sisters were married. My parents finally remembered their troublesome daughter. They brought me back to the capital and rushed to find me a husband, but every young man shook his head at me, whispering behind my back, manlier than me, "Is she even a girl?" My mother cursed me for being useless, saying I'd never find a husband looking like this. I touched my bulging biceps and felt quite pleased. Back in the countryside, I'd beaten hooligans who bullied young girls until they spat blood. They trembled at the sight of me afterward, just when my parents had given up all hope. News came from the palace. The emperor had turned 18, he was selecting imperial consorts. My father was an official, so my name was on the list. Everyone thought I'd be eliminated in the first round, never reaching the emperor. But amazingly, I passed every strict test and stood before Xiao Yuanshang. Among all the small, delicate girls, I stood out like a sore thumb. Whispers broke out. How did this thing get in here? Even more shocking, Xiao Yuanshang stared at me. He couldn't look away. Wild with joy, he even jumped up to give me the golden Rui scepter meant for the empress, only to be stopped by eunuchs. The empress was already chosen, Meng Daijun, daughter of the Grand Marshal Meng Guang. And I was made a consort. After entering the palace, Xiao Yuanshang came to my palace every single day. The rest of the harem might as well not have existed. Everyone was confused. So was I. I was nothing like the beauties everyone talked about. He had the whole world. Why was he so crazy about me? Was it, as the maids whispered behind his back, that His Majesty had eccentric tastes? 5. I thought about it for ages and couldn't figure it out, so I asked my personal maid, Laneying. Laneying pondered like a scholar for a long time, then wrote a 5,000-word report. She laid out the full cause and nature of the situation. In short, Xiao Yuanshang doted on me and ignored the empress and others to suppress Meng Guang. The empress's father, Grand Marshal Meng Guang, was the most powerful minister in the dynasty. He dominated the court and he'd been the one who put Xiao Yuanshang on the throne. Their relationship was complex and delicate. Xiao Yuanshang had ascended at 12. Meng Guang ruled as regent. All military and state affairs were his decision. They were like master and student, father and son. But now Xiao Yuanshang was grown. Meng Guang still held all the power. It made Xiao Yuanshang miserable, so I became his tool against Meng Guang. He used his favor for me to vent his anger. It was a rebellious urge after years of oppression, a complicated mix of love and hate. I stared, dumbfounded. Is that really it? Laneying patted her chest, spittle flying. From years of reading storybooks, this is definitely it. She kindly warned me, royal favor flows like water eastward. Lady, you must plan ahead. My iron-strong heart ached and ached, because before this, I think I'd started to like Xiao Yuanshang. Outside the palace, no boys talked to me, no girls played with me. They all thought I was a freak, even my parents. My father sighed when he saw me. My mother wouldn't let me eat much. They tried to force me into a girl mold, soft, slim, weak. Lovable, I was none of that, the exact opposite. So I became a thorn in my parents' hearts, a joke to the world. But Xiao Yuanshang was different. When he looked at me, There was no mockery, no shock, only admiration and awe. He always praised me. "Afei, you're so strong, so beautiful." I could eat 2 gin of beef, 3 chickens, 8 bowls of rice, and a pot of wine in one meal. He never thought I ate too much. He said I ate so happily. I loved riding horses, archery, and practicing with swords and spears. Xiao Yuanshang never complained that I was unrefined or unladylike. He never told me to watch my words or behave like a proper consort, the way the palace servants did. Instead, he built a huge training ground just for me, with fine horses, swords, and spears. He let me be whoever I wanted. His patience and favor often made me cry, and a strange feeling grew inside me I couldn't hold back, a feeling called like, even though we looked so mismatched. But now someone told me he was only doing this to suppress Meng Guang, that he was just bearing the burden for politics. It felt like a big hole had been torn in my heart. 6. That evening, Xiao Yuanshang came to me excitedly for dinner. He chatted non-stop about which minister wore his pants backward, who'd secretly farted that day. I just sat with a dark face and said nothing. Xiao Yuanshang noticed the mood and laughed awkwardly, trying to make conversation. He picked up a green bean and commented, "Is this bin a bit old?" I replied gruffly, "Who says it's old?" Xiao Yuanshang didn't know what to do. Finally, he put down his chopsticks and stared at his hands. After a long while, he looked up at me, eyes wet and sincere, with a hint of grievance. "Afei, are you angry I didn't make you empress?" I froze. I'd never even dared to hope for that. I stammered to explain when a messenger came for Xiao Yuanshang, a secret spy. Xiao Yuanshang was terrified Meng Guang might rebel. So he watched him closely. He never ate anything Meng Guang offered, not even books or gifts without checking them first, and he sent many spies to spy on the Meng family. Even when Meng Guang did nothing suspicious, Xiao Yuanshang still worried day and night. This spy claimed he'd caught Meng Guang red-handed. Xiao Yuanshang tensed up immediately and sent everyone else away. He asked urgently, "Did he hide armor and weapons?" The spy shook his head. Xiao Yuanshang asked again, "Did he raise private soldiers?" Still shaking his head, Xiao Yuanshang snapped, "Speak, what has the Grand Marshal done?" I leaned in too, ears pricked. The spy bit his lip and whispered, "The Grand Marshal has a fondness for women's clothing. Every night when it's quiet, he dresses as a woman, does his hair, paints his lips, acts like a lady. Every morning at court, under his official robes, he wears a red mandarin duck bellyband." Xiao Yuanshang, me, wow tilde, 7. The news was too explosive. Xiao Yuanshang and I forgot our fight, huddled under the covers, talking until midnight. Our topic: what did the Grand Marshal look like in women's clothes? It was impossible to imagine. The solemn, unsmiling, dark-bearded Grand Marshal had this kind of hobby. In the end, Xiao Yuanshang slapped his thigh. "I have a great idea." I grinned. "What idea?" He just smiled mysteriously. "You'll see tomorrow." The next day, I dressed as a fan-holding eunuch and followed Xiao Yuanshang to the morning court. In the main hall, Grand Marshal Meng Guang was speaking about state affairs. He was passionate, his words sharp, spit even flew onto my face. Xiao Yuanshang rested his chin, looking thoughtful, as if listening carefully. Then he said warmly, "The Grand Marshal works tirelessly for the country and people. This emperor is deeply moved." Meng Guang's weathered face blushed. He bowed. "I eat the ruler's bread. I serve the ruler's cause. It is my duty." Xiao Yuanshang waved. And a young eunuch came forward with a cup of hot tea. "You've worked hard, Grand Marshal. Drink some hot tea." Xiao Yuanshang spoke gently. Receiving tea in court was a great honor. Meng Guang was flattered and thanked him repeatedly. But as the eunuch handed over the cup, his hand shook. Hot tea spilled everywhere, soaking Meng Guang's robes. "You clumsy fool," Xiao Yuanshang shouted angrily. "Help the Grand Marshal change at once." The eunuch panicked, scrambling to untie Meng Guang's clothes, muttering, "This servant deserves death. This servant will help you change." Even though Meng Guang resisted fiercely, the eunuch quickly stripped off 3 layers, clothes fell away, and the secret was exposed. Meng Guang's bright red bellyband was there for all the court to see. It was vividly colored, embroidered with phoenixes and peonies, mandarin ducks embracing. A murmur swept through the hall. The eunuch was also shocked. In his panic, he loosened Meng Guang's belt too. His wide trousers slid down without mercy, and everyone saw another strange sight. The Grand Marshal's legs were wrapped in black fishnet stockings, seductive and alluring. That day, the usually steady Grand Marshal Meng Guang ran crying from the hall. Swaying in a strangely feminine way, he fell seriously ill afterward. Not long after, Meng Guang returned all his power to the emperor and resigned. Xiao Yuanshang pretended to beg him to stay, then finally let him go. His original plan had just been to embarrass Meng Guang for fun. He never expected it would make him give up his power, exactly what he wanted. 8. With Meng Guang gone from court, Xiao Yuanshang was as free as a bird out of a cage. The young emperor couldn't wait to show what he could do. He woke up earlier than roosters, slept later than dogs, the candles in the audience hall burned all night. For half a month, he didn't step foot in the harem. Naturally, he didn't see me either. I had to admit Laniying had been right. Xiao Yuanshang had achieved his goal. He wouldn't need me anymore. I might spend the rest of my life alone in the deep palace. It broke my heart. I worried day and night, wondering if I should confront him and ask to leave the palace. Meanwhile, the harem had grown strange. Because of Xiao Yuanshang's unusual tastes, the consorts started eating like crazy and exercising non-stop. They swore to become as tall and strong as me. The empress tried hardest of all. I heard she now ate 3 or 4 times more than before, even if she threw up from being too full. She exercised every day to build a strong body. When I met her in the garden, she was lifting 2 heavy stones to train her muscles. Her arms shook, sweat pouring down her forehead. It was like Lin Daiyu was trying to turn into Zhen Guanxi. She'd grown much rounder, but her face had no healthy color. I knew she must be deeply unhappy. I sighed. When the king loves swordsmen, the people bear many scars. When the king loves thin waists, many starve in the palace. It was always this ironic. Besides, Xiao Yuanshang didn't really love me. After thinking it over, I couldn't bear to watch. I stepped forward and said, "Your Majesty, you really don't have to do this." The empress stopped. Eyes sad. "What, are you going to tell me that even if I train to be as strong as you, I still won't win the emperor's love?" I shook my head and pointed to the bright, colorful flowers nearby. Peonies are noble, peonies are bright, hydrangeas are elegant, osmanthus is fragrant, chrysanthemums are brave. Even wildflowers by the road have their own beauty. People are the same, everyone has their own shape and light. Just be healthy and follow your heart. Why trap yourself in a mold and hurt yourself? The empress lowered her head and smiled bitterly. When she looked up, her eyes were wet. "Consort Zhong, I know all that." She stared sadly into the distance. "But I am the empress. My family's honor depends on me. My father has lost his position. How can I not try everything to win His Majesty's favor?" Looking at her lonely face, I couldn't tell who was really at fault. My heart softened. I comforted her. "You really don't have to. The truth is, Xiao Yuanshang doesn't love me." "What?" The empress's eyes widened. "That's impossible," I explained to her. Just like Laniying had to me, Xiao Yuanshang, a young emperor held down for so long, had rebelled by doing something wild. In truth, he had feelings for the empress. Complicated feelings, love and hate mixed together. So his coldness toward her would fade now that the Grand Marshal was gone from politics. I told her not to worry, and not to hurt herself with extreme things. The empress was shocked. Really, even though my heart hurt, I pretended not to care and shrugged. "Of course, most men love pretty, delicate girls. Xiao Yuanshang is no different. Pretending to like me was just his way of upsetting all of you." I made a funny face to make her laugh. "When have you ever seen a favored consort who's dark and muscular?" I liked myself, but I couldn't control how others felt. The empress giggled, and the mood lightened. When she'd finished laughing, she suddenly took my hand. The sadness that usually hung over her was gone, replaced by warmth and peace. She said, "No, I think His Majesty really does love you. Besides," she looked up at me, eyes admiring, "I think you're beautiful, and so mighty." Before she could say more, she glanced to the side and quickly bowed. "This consort greets Your Majesty." I only then realized Xiao Yuanshang was standing behind us, his face dark with anger. He must have heard everything. He was probably furious at being found out. Xiao Yuanshang walked toward me step by step. My heart was in chaos. Finally, he stared at me with a look that was both loving and hurt. This is how you see me. He looked so pitiful, as if I'd been the one who ruined his feelings. I gritted my teeth and laid it all out. Let me leave the palace. Then I turned and ran, ignoring Xiao Yuanshang as he chased and called after me. 9. I ran all the way back to my chambers. Buried my head under the covers like an ostrich, and sulked. Xiao Yuanshang chased after me, gasping for breath. When he calmed down, he spoke to me softly through the covers, sounding wronged. Have you forgotten me? That year, I waited for you for days with candied hawthorns, and you never came. I was completely confused. I poked my head out in surprise. I didn't remember Xiao Yuanshang from my past at all. Seeing my blank face, Xiao Yuanshang's eyes turned red, looking even more wronged. As if I were some playboy who'd forgotten his lover, he almost shouted, 9 years ago, Swallowtail Lane, candied hawthorns, don't you remember? In that instant, Xiao Yuanshang's face suddenly became familiar. A memory flooded my body, pulling me back to that winter 9 years ago. I was 12. I'd been chasing a kite and passed Swallowtail Lane. Several snot-nosed boys were beating up another kid. The one being hit was bruised all over, but he clung tightly to something in his arms. I stepped in with a roar and stopped the bullying. The boys stared at me, then mocked. Where'd this freak come from? Not even boy or girl. They went back to picking on the poor kid. That made me mad. 1 flying kick, 2 stomps, 3 punches, and I won completely. The bullies ran for their lives. I held out my hand to the boy in the corner. Come on, it's okay now. He worshipfully hugged my leg. Sister, you're so strong. Then he pulled out what he'd been protecting. A bright red stick of candied hawthorns. He stood on tiptoes and held it up to me. For you, sister. He'd gotten beaten up just for a stick of candied hawthorns. That day, we sat at the end of the lane and shared it. The sugar was sweet, the hawthorn sour, an amazing taste in my mouth. A kite flew overhead. We smiled at each other, both with big snot bubbles on our noses. When we parted, the little boy said, Sister, come back tomorrow. I'll bring you more candied hawthorns. I nodded. I have a pretty kite. We can fly it together. We made the promise and went home, but we never saw each other again. My parents were afraid my looks would ruin my sister's marriages, so they sent me to the countryside. To stop me from fighting it, they carried me to the carriage in the middle of the night while I slept. The little boy didn't know. He held the candied hawthorns and went to Swallowtail Lane anyway. He waited for days and got beaten up twice more. Back then, he was just a descendant of a fallen prince. Weak, poor, helpless. No one thought he'd ever be connected to the throne, but 3 years later, the late emperor died without an heir. As the emperor's grandnephew, the little boy was chosen by Grand Marshal Meng Guang to be the new emperor. Xiao Yuanshang's features slowly merged with the little boy from back then. Fate was truly wonderful. I clapped my legs in surprise. It was you. I leaned closer, curious. When did you recognize me? Xiao Yuanshang explained earnestly. That short, sweet day had left an unforgettable, precious memory in his heart. For a long time, he'd tried to find me. He only knew my name was Zhong Fei, the daughter of a capital official, on the eve of his grand wedding. He circled my name again and again on the consort list. When I entered the palace for inspections, he hid and watched me, finally sure it was really me, the girl who'd shared candied hawthorns with him in Swallowtail Lane. So he told every inspector to let me pass, so I could stand before him. He looked a little down. I asked several times to make you empress, but those ministers wouldn't agree. He patted his chest. Don't worry, once I secure the throne, I'll make you empress. He was so sincere, just like when he'd stood on tiptoes offering me candied hawthorns. I pressed a finger to his lips. Why didn't you tell me all this time? Xiao Yuanshang bowed his head shyly. I was waiting for you. To remember on your own, to ask me. I tapped my head. Sure enough. So many misunderstandings in this world come from not talking in time. Xiao Yuanshang hurried to add, don't listen to any bastards who say I did it to anger the empress or Meng Guang. That's not true at all, Fei. I just think you're beautiful. I've liked you, for a very, very long time. The misunderstanding cleared. It was like swimming up from the bottom of a dark river and breathing deeply. Then I gently tugged his ear. Then why didn't you come see me for half a month? We laughed and messed around. Xiao Yuanshang begged for mercy. Smiling. When we'd calmed down, he suddenly turned serious and lonely, sighing. I never knew state affairs were this heavy. Droughts, floods, corruption all on me. So many times I'm just about to rest, and urgent reports come. Before, he really did work so hard. He meant Meng Guang. Only then did I notice how loose his clothes had become. I wrapped my broad body around him. He curled into my arms like a cat, letting out a long breath. I whispered softly, "It's okay, you'll grow. You'll be a good, great emperor." 10. The heavy state affairs didn't lighten. New problems came instead. The northern Rong tribes beyond the border kept raiding our lands, stealing cattle, looting, killing our people. Xiao Yuanshang finally lost his patience and decided to teach them a lesson. He summoned troops and planned to lead the campaign himself. To be an emperor on horseback, I was worried. Xiao Yuanshang was still young and had almost no real battle experience. But he said he'd be fine. He had the experienced General Zhao Jinglong, and he'd read many military books. He would beat the northern Rong soundly and chase them far away. He was eager to escape Meng Guang's shadow and prove he was a worthy ruler. Soon after, Xiao Yuanshang marched out with a huge army. But the war didn't go as he'd imagined. First, heavy rain fell for days. The ground was slippery. Supplies couldn't arrive on time. The soldiers lost spirit and lost battle after battle. Under terrible pressure, the camp even suffered a mutiny, soldiers killing each other. Xiao Yuanshang himself almost died at the border. In the end, he fled back to the palace with a handful of remaining soldiers. He left full of spirit. He returned broken. Xiao Yuanshang locked himself in his room, refusing to eat or speak. I was worried, but could only slip a stick of candied hawthorns through the door crack. 3 days later, Xiao Yuanshang came out. His beard was unshaven. He looked exhausted. It was like he'd grown several years older overnight. He put on his court robes, led all officials in a solemn, sad memorial for the dead soldiers, and granted generous pensions to their families. After that, he lay in my arms and rambled about Meng Guang. He said when he was 12, Meng Guang held his hand and put him on the dragon throne. He said he knew nothing back then. And Meng Guang taught him how to be a ruler, how to govern the country. He said once he kept falling asleep during lessons, so Meng Guang took off his outer robes to wake him up with cold. He was angry until Meng Guang took off his own clothes too, leaving only one layer, and froze with him. He said once he was sick, and Meng Guang was afraid the palace servants wouldn't take care of him well, so he watched over him for 3 days and 3 nights. Tenderness appeared on Xiao Yuanshang's face as he spoke. Then it twisted into pain and confusion. He said when he grew up, Meng Guang refused to return power. He said when he wanted to go east, Meng Guang made him go west, stubborn, controlling. He said things he decided, Meng Guang would overturn in front of all officials. He said he didn't like Meng Daijun, but Meng Guang forced her on him. He said sometimes he missed Meng Guang terribly, and sometimes he hated him. I stroked Xiao Yuanshang's back slowly, like comforting a baby. Finally, I whispered, "Bring Mr. Meng back. He's a powerful minister, a capable minister, and a loyal one. You need him. The court needs him. He was too young. He needed to learn." Xiao Yuanshang didn't speak. He just nodded gently. 11. After the humiliation last time, Meng Guang stayed hidden at home. Xiao Yuanshang went to find him with only a small entourage. It didn't look like an emperor visiting a minister, more like a student visiting his teacher. When he saw Meng Guang was wearing a long dress, his hair done up, lips painted, leisurely watering flowers. Xiao Yuanshang asked him to return to court. Meng Guang only smiled and pulled out several stacks of books. He said everything he still needed to teach Xiao Yuanshang was written in them. As for the court, he would never go back. No matter how Xiao Yuanshang begged, no matter how he compared them to Zhuge Liang and Liu Shan, Meng Guang refused. Xiao Yuanshang knew he'd hurt him deeply. He went back and thought hard for days. One day, he wore a bright, long flowing dress, covered his head with golden hairpins and flowers, and went to court. All the officials' jaws dropped. Xiao Yuanshang acted casual. "I just thought this style was interesting today. It harms no one. You needn't be shocked." He was apologizing to Meng Guang in his own way, silencing the gossip about him. Later, Meng Guang probably couldn't stand how ridiculous Xiao Yuanshang was being, afraid he'd keep acting this way. He finally gave in to Xiao Yuanshang's persistent pestering. Returned to court, and became Grand Marshal again. He helped Xiao Yuanshang handle state affairs earnestly, patiently teaching him every strategy. Xiao Yuanshang listened humbly, treating his teacher with great respect. Their relationship was better than ever. One difficult problem after another was solved. The whole court and common people praised them as a beautiful example. 12. As for me, my tense relationship with the other consorts slowly softened too. One gentle spring afternoon, the Empress smiled and held out her hand to me. We're catching fish and grilling meat in the Imperial Garden. Will you join us? I smiled back and took her hand. Everyone was happy that day, drinking, eating, singing, and dancing around the fire. I played finger-guessing games with them. If I lost, I spun them around in my arms. If I won, they took a sip of wine. Concubine Yang pinched my muscle, her eyes drunk and soft. Consort Zhong, I used to think you weren't pretty. But now I think you're so cool. I pinched her cheek and laughed. You're cool too. I heard you won the harem swimming contest. That's amazing. Xiao Yuanshang was in a good mood that night too. He asked me what we'd done. I smiled and said lightly, as if it didn't matter, you should go to the Empress's palace tonight. Not just tonight, from now on. You should spend time with her. Meng Guang was exhausting himself for the court. If you cold-shouldered the Empress, you'd break his heart. Besides, the Empress was a really, really good person. Xiao Yuanshang hid his sadness with a tease. You hate me that much, hurrying to push me away. I made a shooing motion. Go, go. Xiao Yuanshang took 2 steps forward, then suddenly turned back and hugged my waist, clinging to me. His voice cracked, like he was about to cry. I'm going. I'm really going. I rolled my eyes. It was like I was forcing him into something terrible. I lifted him like a little chick and carried him out the gate. Then I turned away, not looking back, hiding my own disappointment. 13. But Xiao Yuanshang didn't spend a lovely night with the Empress. On the contrary, he was furious. His sudden visit caught the Empress off guard. What he saw, the Empress and his personal guard Shen Kui, under the silkflower tree, gazing tenderly at each other, like a perfect couple. At first he was flustered, thinking he'd walked in on the wrong scene. Then he found it thrilling and wanted to hide and watch. Then he woke up. That's my Empress, in name anyway. His chest felt tight. He left in anger, and on the way, in a dark alley, he saw Consort Gua hugging another guard. Beneath the rockery, Concubine Li kissing an imperial physician. In an instant, he felt like he was glowing green, the brightest star in the night sky. The next day, the 3 consorts were brought before him. He said coldly, you have committed crimes punishable by 1,000 cuts. Have you decided how you want to die? Consort Gua huffed. Better to die in a handsome man's arms than live a boring life. The Empress also dropped her gentle, dignified act, stubborn and sharp. To hell with your stupid rules. I want to live freely for once. I stood there, not knowing what to do. I felt it was partly Xiao Yuanshang's fault, and partly mine. Just then, Meng Guang rushed in. So flustered he'd put his shoes on the wrong feet. Xiao Yuanshang sighed and asked him, Grand Marshal, after such a scandal, what should I do? Meng Guang knelt in terror, staring at his daughter. At last he banged his head on the ground, tears streaming down. I failed to teach my daughter well. Your Majesty, please spare her life. Punish me instead. I forced her to be your Empress. But in all these years, this was the only selfish thing I ever did. The Empress also wept. Father, you knew I loved Shen Kui all along. Why did you have to send me into this deep palace? I understood Meng Guang, really. Every powerful father wants his daughter to be Empress, to bring glory to the family. In the end, Xiao Yuanshang knelt down and helped Meng Guang up. He wiped his tears with a handkerchief. He said slowly, then I sentence you to leave the palace. Everyone stopped crying and looked up at him. He went on, I must focus on governing, work hard, and listen to my people. I should not indulge in women. Keeping you here would only waste your youth. He blushed. Only Consort Zhong needs to stay in the palace. 14. By the 3rd spring, the realm was peaceful, and the people lived in plenty. We drove the northern Rhone 100 miles away, set up watchtowers and cavalry on the borders, and guarded the peace. Xiao Yuanshang slowly lost his childishness and grew steady. He looked every bit a wise ruler. In his free time, we liked to walk among the common people. Xiao Yuanshang built schools, created jobs, encouraged girls to read and write, and to work outside the home. More and more girls no longer had to be trapped in their houses, controlled by others. On the streets, you could see men and women working side by side, tall or short, fat or thin, strong or delicate, each shining in their own way, the whole world thriving. Xiao Yuanshang had sent his former empress and 3 consorts out of the palace, granting each the title of princess or county lord. They received salaries, were not bullied, and could remarry. It was Xiao Yuanshang's way of compensating them. Meng Daijun married Shen Kui and gave birth to a soft, pink little girl, adorable. Meng Guang involved himself less in court. In his free time, he doted on his little granddaughter, enjoying family happiness. Concubine Yang fell in love with swimming. She moved like a fish in the water, took on many students, and started a civilian water rescue team. Consort Guo opened a small shop selling rouge, powder, and hairpins. Her business boomed. The spring sun was warm. Xiao Yuanshang and I walked along the field path, flying a beautiful kite. The days were long, the fences quiet. No one passed by, only dragonflies and butterflies fluttered. Xiao Yuanshang suddenly asked me, "Fei, do you blame me?" I said, "You kept your promise, you made me empress. Why would I blame you?" He looked into the distance. "I mean, do you blame me for trapping you in the palace?" I didn't answer. Instead, I said softly, "Tell me the story of when we were little again." Xiao Yuanshang smiled shyly and whispered something in my ear. I suddenly felt so shy that I ran forward with the kite. We laughed loudly, our clear laughter echoing across the whole field.